Hello, and welcome to Vintage Movie Nights. I'm Joe, that's Ryan, and today we're going to be talking and reviewing the latest film, Happy Gilmore 2, the Netflix special that came out and dropped. We've watched it individually. We didn't record a reaction. It's not a vintage movie, and frankly, we both are family people and have families, and our families want to watch it. So we watched it, but we're going to review it here. We're going to talk about this movie. We'll talk a little bit about, I think, the original movie. We'll talk a little bit about our expectations, and then we'll get into the movie. We'll talk about the good, the bad, maybe the ugly, and then we'll kind of finish off with like our final rankings. How's that sound?
Great. Let's do it.
I like it. Well, let's jump in. So let's just right off the top, I just want to say one thing. Okay. No matter what I say from here, I did like the movie, but I am going to have some probably less than positive things to say at times.
Okay.
I just want to keep that on the top.
Same. You go first. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about the original. And I think the reason I want to talk about the original is because I think it's important to note this is a movie that was a sequel from something that was made 29 years ago, right?
Yes.
So, a lot has changed in 29 years. I mean, think about where you were 29 years ago, right?
Yes.
So Adam Sandler has aged. The original movie, he was young. He was part of that Saturday Night Live group. He was just on the rise of creating great movies. He wasn't the Adam Sandler he is today, essentially.
No. And before you go any further, I wonder if some of the critiques, because you and I have just talked about, we've seen other people's videos. It's kind of up and down. You know, people have good and positive. But Adam Sandler, as an actor, has kind of been on a little bit of a decline compared to when you think of that mid to late 90s run that he had, where it was these classic comedies with all the classic nowadays comedies versus some of these movies he's put out with the deal with Netflix. This is part of that.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, and I think, too, what made the original work was always it's original, right? So whenever it's an original idea, you're always going to have that original feel to it, and that always is going to help you, almost always. But it was golf as a game is stuffy. And here comes Happy Gilmore, hockey player, turned golfer who jumps in. And I think some things, like when you think of what Happy Gilmore was, it was the one-liners, right? The one-liners that were just so hilarious. Like, Mister. I mean, I still think about that all the time. And I think, like, just culturally, it became a cult classic, a phenom. So it's almost impossible to top what you did 29 years ago with that type of movie.
It's true, and it was original in its own way, that it was part of this series in the 90s that we had, and we've talked about this on some of our recent episodes, the dumb comedies of the 90s.
Right.
Not in that they were dumb, they were smart comedies, but they were just kind of frivolous. You didn't have to think much. Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Jim Carrey, these people who just were at the top of their game in the 90s. But Happy Gilmore had the sports aspect. You're combining two sports, golf and hockey. That was original. So to your point,
polarizing. Those are totally different sports, right? I mean,
but it still had all of these just like, what, that's so dumb, but it's funny and you laugh. And it became this classic, as you said.
Yeah. I think of them, like I could think of 100 different scenes that make me laugh, but the scenes, like, with Bob Barker, and then, or even the lines where he'd be like, if I dressed like that, I'd have to kick my own ass, and just like the funny moments, or like when he's doing the Subway commercials, talk about a hole in one, just such silliness, but still
there's
fun,
a lot, and when you look at like the best Adam Sandler movies, if you were to rank them all, excluding his dramas, because he has done a few dramas, and he is a good actor when he does drama.
I think so.
Movies like Punch Drunk Love and Spanglish and Uncut Gems, which were these critically acclaimed dramatic. You take those out because they're not really comparable to a film like Happy Gilmore. The Adam Sandler comedies, it always comes back to this and The Wedding Singer. These are the two that he did in the 90s that were just, they rank at the top to me.
I would agree. Mm-hmm. Did you watch Happy Gilmore before you watched Happy Gilmore 2, like recently? Like, because I watched it before I watched like Sunday morning I watched Happy Gilmore 1, and then Sunday night I watched Happy Gilmore 2.
No, I watched it probably sometime last year.
Okay, so
it
somewhat
was recently. It was recently, yeah.
So so I think going in and so with that I think we talk about going into this movie, what your expectations were.
Yes.
Versus the reality of what we got, kind of set the expectations. Because I think you and I both were not real impressed with the trailers. I felt like going in, I actually didn't expect a whole lot.
Yeah, no, likewise. I was surprised. I don't want to say I was blown away surprised. I have more good things than bad things to say about it, which is good. I guess that's all you could ask for.
Right.
It's almost like the sequel they did to Dumb and Dumber some years ago, Dumb and Dumber 2. You got the same cast.
Yep.
They're doing the same stupid things. It should be funny, and it is funny. It's just, maybe it's because we're older. Maybe it's because comedy has changed. I don't know what it is. It is really hard to live up to a comedy like this.
Were you expecting much going into it, though? I mean, honestly,
No.
like when you're about to sit down and watch it, were you?
No.
I actually didn't expect it to be any good because I thought the trailers really didn't show what it was.
I was surprised. I wouldn't say I was blown away, but I was a little surprised.
Okay. So now, before we get into the movie itself, I do want to just note, call to spoiler alert. We'll try not to give away too much, but if you are looking to be spoiler free, I would recommend watching it and then coming back and watching this because there's a good chance that we're going to slip up and say things, especially because there are some pretty big plot points in the first 5 minutes of the movie that I think need to be talked about, right? So, and so if you are looking, this is your chance. If you're looking for a spoiler-free review, I would just wait.
And some surprising twists that I liked about who you think is going to be the villain, and then he's not the villain.
Right. Exactly. So with that, let's talk about the movie. So
sure.
Let's start with before we get into the good and the bad, let's talk a little bit about the plot. Just the movie itself. What were your takes on the overall story of this movie?
I was expecting it to be goofy, and it is goofy. It starts out more or less the same. He needs to raise money. This time it's for his daughter.
It starts dark. It starts dark,
man. It does.
Like, it starts dark.
The drinking and a certain thing that happens to a character. Yeah. And then he's got
a death like right out in the first 5 minutes, and again, like I said, we're not spoiler free, so we can say it, right? I'm not going to try to avoid spoilers here.
I mean, it doesn't matter. So Julie Bowen dies.
Yeah, one of the best actresses in this movie dies 5 minutes in,
and you think
Aaron golf ball,
the golf ball, and it's sort of a throwback to the way his dad died,
right?
the puck in the face. And I was watching it with my wife and my oldest kid, and we kind of turned to each other, but we were laughing.
I turned to my wife. I said, "Wow, this is dark. I didn't expect that."
And I thought that they might introduce a new love interest, and they don't. Really,
they don't. Yeah, so
she kind of still plays a part in his happy place.
Yeah, so he has to go raise all this money because he wants to send his daughter to ballerina school because he kind of fails as a father once the wife dies.
Single father.
Which is what kicks off to the I Lost Grandma's House in the first one. It's the same thing, I Lost Grandma's House, and everything else in the second one, right?
Right.
So then, of course, he goes back to golf and he has to fight his demons, and then goes on to, has to then fight another villain within the movie. Which
so I was going to ask
a little bit weak.
Well, yeah. So the plot of the movie, he's got to raise money for his daughter, and it's going to kind of follow the same formula. Then there's this weird golf tournament league that kind of comes about halfway through. Maxie with Haley Joel Osment randomly the kid from The Sixth Sense.
Is that who that was? I didn't even realize
the kind of chubbier, the Oscar-nominated I See Dead People.
No, as the golfer, not the owner
golfer.
of Maxi, but the
golfer.
No,
the golfer. One
I
of
didn't
like
even
several.
catch that till you just said that right now. That I didn't
Haley
even
Joel
realize
Osment is the. I mean, he's
I
now
didn't
in
catch that.
His 30s now, I'm guessing.
That's awesome. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that whole thing is weird, but there are some funny, like, that just kind of made me turn to my wife. Like, they talk about the golfer who, like, in the 50s accidentally tore his stomach ligament or whatever, and then he turns. We went ahead and we just cropped their ligaments. Like, oh my god, like they're performing abnormal surgery on these people. So there were some funny things to it, but it does get a little preposterous, and it's a little much.
The plot for me, and like I do want to still go back to the good and the bad. The plot for me is extremely weak in this movie. And I'm not saying you expect this crazy great thing, but when you look at Happy Gilmore 1, that plot felt reasonably real. And I one of my biggest critiques in this movie when we get to it is going to be Happy as a golfer in Happy Gilmore 2 versus 1. In 1, he was just a guy that hit the ball long, and he had to learn how to play within the rules, and he had to learn certain things. He had to learn to putt, and Chubbs had to help him, and that was such a big part of it, and he had to learn how to kind of play golf. In this one, he's already, like, I thought just too good of a golfer, like, frankly. But
well, yeah, and that is kind of an interesting thing. Like, how do you do that? Because he would be a good golfer. So, I mean...
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I have a whole. If I was in charge of the script, there's a couple things I would have done differently with different characters and whatnot. But so all in all, I think for me the plot, it's a little weak, honestly. And I don't mean that, like, I know you're going in watching a silly movie with Happy Gilmore, but the plot is weak. And so that's one of my takes. But anyway, the plot summary, right, essentially is he's got to raise money for his daughter to send her to ballerina school. And hijinks pursue, of course, and there's a new villain, so to speak, like you said, Haley Joel Osment. He's one of them, but he's not the main one. I thought there was another one. I think there's some really funny characters in it. There's some characters I absolutely could not stand and could have literally lived without. And so generally decent, but the plot was weak. So with that...
I would agree. I mean, overall, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. So let's talk about what you really liked about the movie before we get to the not so good section, and then we can kind of wrap that all together.
Yeah, I liked all of the returning characters, which I'll get to in a minute. I liked it. This is cameos galore. Lots of cameos in this movie, which the first one kind of had too, but not on this level. There's a lot of people that are in this movie. And a lot of returning characters. We mentioned Julie Bowen. We knew she was going to be. We didn't know her fate from the trailer.
No.
But she kind of goes with it, and it is darkly funny.
It works. It does. Honestly, for me, it worked.
We knew Ben Stiller was going to be in this. I didn't know what his purpose would be. And he does kind of have a good purpose. I could see how he goes from that to this with the drinking and everything, and that's funny. My biggest what I loved about this was what they did with Shooter McGavin. Because
well, you're a Shooter fan.
I am a Shooter fan, and Christopher McDonald, who has been in hundreds of movies, this is like his role, right? Everybody knows him as Shooter McGavin.
So it's funny. I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Not to tie onto this. So, Adam Sandler is a golfer in real life, and not like a professional, but he's a pretty decent golfer. And he did just recently with Bryson DeChambeau, who is in the movie, is one of the pro golfers in the movie.
Yes.
He's a pro golfer in real life. He does a series called Break 50 where he tries to break 50 shooting from the women's tees. And he's done it with Trump. He did it with other YouTube golfers. He's done it with the quarterback for the Patriots, Tom Brady, right? So he does with all these celebrities. He did, Adam Sandler's just dropped, and I heard him talking about watching that, he was specifically talking about Christopher McDonald, that originally he didn't want to be in Happy Gilmore 1. It was a little too goofy for him. He didn't really he wasn't sold on the premise, and it wasn't until after several conversations that eventually he did. And now he's Shooter McGavin, and everybody loves him, you know,
because Christopher McDonald's made a career out of character. You know, he's a character actor. He does little roles, does supporting roles. And to be in this goofy comedy, and now it's like what everybody knows him as. And in a way, like, people think back on Happy Gilmore, and they love Happy Gilmore, but it's also, he's Shooter McGavin. Like, he's almost just as beloved as Happy Gilmore. Shooter, you know? So to have him start off in the mental institution, that's kind of funny. It's really silly. But then to have them team up, I liked that. I like that Happy and Shooter team up, and he's got a, you know, we're allowed a sub, and he turns like, come on, you know, you want to Shooter. You know? That was like, come on, let's go, Shooter.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
a
was
good moment.
That.
It really
I
is.
love that. You know?
The fight scene that got them together, I thought was really well done too. Just like the fun, and actually,
everyone's
for me,
buried,
that's one of my favorite.
Everyone's buried next to each other.
That's one of my favorite scenes because it's an homage to all the dead people that have died, like Bob Barker, his grandma, right? I mean,
Chubbs is in
Jackass,
there.
You know, Chubbs, right? All of them are there.
Mista lady died in her tombstone.
Yeah, exactly. She's stuck inside, and he's like, ooh. So yeah, and Shooter, even Shooter, apparently he came up with in the original, you know, like
no.
So
I love that they made him a protagonist. Like they made him part of he was a protagonist by the end of it. It was good.
Yeah, I will tell you at the end. I'm going to get the very, very end. I'll give you kind of my rewrite where he actually would have been an antagonist who turns protagonist in my right if I were to work on it. But we'll get to that. Yeah, I think, you know, for me, I think the good stuff was the cameos, the nostalgia. It's taken a couple hits. Like, I've heard people mention this as a negative, all the cuts to the original movie.
Yes. So that we were texting. I hated that. That
okay,
is the one
I didn't
thing
dislike
for me.
That as much, but it could have lived without it.
That was the one thing for me that I felt really slowed it down. Like when Ben Stiller comes in, check out the name tag. I don't need to see, I know who that is. Like, I get the joke, right? Yeah, I understand the joke. Even when the former the IRS guy, who's now the lawyer.
That was the worst one for me.
I know
that was the worst one for me.
When the old boss's son, you know, Mr. Hadley's son, we don't need to keep cutting back to the original. That took me out of it a little bit. That is my biggest critique of this movie. Trust your audience. We're smart.
Yeah.
I know this is a dumb movie, but we're not dumb. We get it.
So I loved all the nostalgia and all the throwbacks to that. But yes, in my not so good, definitely would have been listed the weird cuts to the back. Those didn't necessarily need to be there.
It happens throughout the movie constantly.
Too much, right? And like you said, to the point of, I don't need to be fed this stuff. I want to come up to it on my own.
Right.
Like,
and that's bad. That's bad editing, basically, is what that comes down to.
It felt like you and I made a movie that was barely 86 minutes and it needs to be 88 in order for it to be a feature film. And so we added 2 minutes of intro just to get an 88-minute movie. Like, we found ways to cut in more movie. I couldn't help but feel like that's what these were, like, forced cuts to make it 88 minutes.
Well, this is almost 2 hours long, this movie.
No, I know it's long enough, but that's what for sure felt for me.
There's a lot. I mean, the only cutting back to the original footage, like when he goes to his happy place originally, and we see some of that kind of worked. And with the old Julie Bowen from the 90s with the beer, and then she steps in, honey, I'm going to give that back to you. And she gives her old self the beer. Like, that kind of works, and that's funny.
That works.
But that was, and when we were texting it, right, so I have one big critique. It was the cutaways to the original movie. We don't need that.
Well, I ruined your bad and / ugly. You know, if you did the good, the bad, the ugly. So sorry.
It would be that. No, it would be. And yeah, I could see why people wouldn't like that.
So obviously for both of us, this is nostalgia done right then. I mean, at the end of the day, this fed on nostalgia big time with the cameos. Did you have a favorite cameo? Was there one that you were surprised by or that you were like, that was really good?
I'm not much of a golfer. Honestly, I think there's 3 of them golfers that appear in this.
There's the 4 golfers on the there's
the team,
a ton actually. There's a bunch of the old men. There's John Daly, and then there's a bunch of the pros. Yeah, the current pros.
The current pros. I didn't know they were golfers. I was watching with my oldest son, and he watches golf, but you could kind of tell. I mean, you could tell they weren't great actors. Okay, these have got to be golfers. I got the gist of it.
The acting will be in my bad category, by the way. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, but
we'll get to that in a
cameos.
second.
They're cameos. And then I was, my wife and I were asking my son at the end. There's a part where one of them goes to jail, and the guard comes in. You want your phone call?
Scheffler.
He says, yes. What are they serving tonight? Oh, chicken fingers. Oh, I'm going to stay. I guess he was arrested. Like he did.
He was arrested outside of a PGA Tour event. Yes.
right. So that was
for
funny.
for crossing the median or something to get to the event, and then resisting arrest or something, like some weird thing. I can't remember the exact details. Some in those cases, but that was what actually was funny to Scheffler was they made fun of the fact that he was arrested. And so if you don't know anything about golf, that probably goes right over. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. But there's a tie in there.
Yeah. The other thing that I really liked, I know he uses his family a lot. His wife plays the ballet teacher, and it's his actual daughter playing the daughter. I liked the sons in this movie.
So that's also in my bad category, which is kind of funny.
Oh no, see that's
sons.
I
could have absolutely lived without the sons.
Oh no, I like all around the dinner table. As a hockey family, when they start fighting, hey, we don't fight at the table, we fight in the basement. I like that. I like when his car doesn't start, and they're like, beat up the car until it works. Come on,
right.
That was funny to me. That I liked that.
So, back to the cameo. Is there one that really stood out for you?
I thought what stood out it was because he wasn't in the original, though. I know he's cameoed in a lot of Adam Sandler movies. Steve Buscemi pops up in this as a random dude
peeing in the box, and the neighbor across the street and who's drinking Listerine with John Daly. Yeah. No, I thought that was a pretty decent cameo. I think, for me, John Daly was I knew he would be in it because of the trailer, so it wasn't like a surprise cameo. But I actually thought his role was really funny. I thought he did a really good job as the guy in the John Daly being John Daly, with the drinking the hand sanitizer. I thought was pretty funny.
Travis Kelce pops up in this too.
He does.
Football player.
He does. Yes. It actually, I will say he did a better job than you would expect, considering that he's not an actor at any level, right? And I say that because the role he actually had as the waiter, he actually had to do some acting, and there had to be there was a moment where he with the bear and the honey, and it was very silly,
right?
But was that the other one? Now I didn't know who this was, and I had to look him up afterward. Bad Bunny. I don't know who that is, honestly, even to today. The caddy, I thought, did an amazing job, and that's Bad Bunny, which apparently is a rapper.
He
does music,
a hip hop rapper. My kids know who he is. I've heard of the name.
I never heard of him.
I knew who he was. I'm not familiar with his music. But speaking of rappers, Eminem pops up in this.
Eminem does, and I thought Eminem did a good job of playing the son of Jackass.
Well, Eminem, 8 Mile. I mean, he's been in a couple of good movies. So the caddy was good. And all the random actors, I know they're not big names, who play like the son of the former boss, the son of Chubbs. That ridiculous hand that looks even more fake
so
in
bad.
this
That
one.
was so bad. That was so terrible.
I think it was supposed to be terrible. I think
it had to have been, right? Okay, yeah. So one thing that will not, and I'm not. This isn't a bad. I'm just saying this won't hit as well as it did in the original. is I don't think we're going to have as many lines that come out of this as like gags or one-liners like somebody's closer.
Yeah.
Like those
I don't think
moments. Like I just don't think we're going to have really any that come out of this at all.
I don't think so. No, you're probably right there.
And maybe this is kind of starting to shift towards the not so good. Before we do, did you have a favorite moment in the movie or just something where you were like just absolutely bawling or you're just laughing, you thought it was hilarious? What was the moments for you that were the best?
Well, we've kind of talked about them. I mean, I guess there wasn't anything that was like laugh out loud funny. It's just you're kind of going with it and you're watching all the cameos that come across and all the references to the original minus the flashbacks, which didn't work, but you're still into it, right? Moments for me that like really made me just kind of like laugh. Like I hate to say it, but like what they did with Julie Bowen's character, like that made me laugh. Like I'm sitting here like
they murdered her.
I'm like laughing at it and how it's just kind of. There's no sentimental moment. They just kind of like, after the funeral, my son's came I'm just like, oh my God, like that's so great and yet so horrible at the same time. And I was laughing at that dinner scene where the sons start fighting.
Okay.
Maybe that's just me as like a hockey dad.
Apparently, yep.
I'm laughing at that. And I'm laughing really hard at that fight in the graveyard. That is maybe my favorite moment as they're hitting their head on every tombstone of everyone who died. You don't realize that the original Happy Gilmore had a really high death count.
It really did. That was one of my favorite scenes was the fight between Shooter and Happy. I thought that was well done. I think the first time he goes back and plays golf, I think that's pretty decent as well. The cameo of the old man from, Waterboy, who can't speak, and then he's like, and he does the nipple twist again. I mean, I think those are throwbacks to his other stuff. There was actually a lot of tie-ins.
I also like he goes to his happy place and it doesn't work. I need to go to a more age-appropriate happy place.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty decently. That made me laugh a few times as well, for sure.
When you're 40 plus, this is your happy place.
So let's talk about the not so good. And this is, it's going to be hard a little for me because I want to love this movie and I wanted to love some of this, but I do have a pretty some critical things with this movie that really like didn't hit. And I can see why. There's another YouTuber, his name is Angry Joe. He's much, much more successful. He's been doing this much, much longer. Normally he's in video games and has only recently transitioned to, or has transitioned to movies. Man, he filleted this. He tells you if you like this, you just don't have the intellect, like what Siskel or Ebert would say. You just don't have the intellect to like, you're intellectually challenged if you like this movie, right? Okay. Like, he really hated it. Like, he's like, I give it a 2 out of 10. It's just complete garbage. That's what he said today.
Wow.
I'm not going to be that bad because I think there's some really good positive things that are worth looking at. And remember, we're just average guys. We've made a few movies. There aren't any good, but we've had some fun. Guys. We've made some movies.
And
we're average guys.
We might be a little intellectually challenged. It's true.
I know I am. Like I'm a pie in the face kind of guy. Right. So these types of movies generally speak to me. But with that, there were some not so good things for me. Mm-hmm. So we talked a little bit about the plot. I thought the story was extremely weak. I would have much, much rather seen Happy struggle to get back to pro status and have to beat Shooter McGavin again than I would have this weird maxi, like Fortnite style golf thing going on. Yes. Like I didn't really. What it is it's a take on Tigers, the TGL Tigers golf thing that he's got going, and then the Live Golf, I think. So I think they're trying to make fun of these other PGA takeoffs or spin-offs that are out there. But it just why it didn't work for me is because I could absolutely care less about the owner of the maxi. There was nothing that made me care about the antagonist to the point of being like, I don't care. I don't care if you win. I don't care if I don't know anything about you. At least in the original Happy Gilmore, like Shooter, you're like almost feel a little bad for the guy. I mean, they make him a dick, so you don't like him, so you're like rooting for Happy, obviously. But at the end of the day, you have to think about what just happened to him. He was the tour leader, and here comes this, young punk kid who doesn't like golf, and he's like, "Damn it, people, this is golf,"
Right.
That just wasn't there. That just wasn't there in this one because you could have had Happy struggling to get back to golf and turn to a guy like Shooter if you wanted to have the camaraderie and have Shooter help him. But they chose the mental institute for like 15 years. I thought that was a little ridiculous, but whatever. The other one I would have done is I would have had Shooter run the Maxi League and been trying to destroy golf because of what happened to him in Happy Gilmore 1. But then he could have like maybe had his son, which could have been the character, one of the, who's taking it too far. And then Shooter has to switch sides, and you could have had some fun still. So you still could have had the redemption for Shooter in either arc, but I just did not care at all for the owner of Maxi. And so for me, that was the weak part of the movie. Like that was the weakest part. The second weakest thing I did not like the acting in this movie. And what I mean by that is Adam Sandler looked tired, and I like Adam Sandler. And I thought he did a good job in it. Like, he still is a good actor. But I just felt like it felt lazy at times. I felt like he just was... He's aged. And you could kind of see it, I guess, a little bit. I thought Shooter was good. But with all these cameos, you're going to have people who don't know how to act. And it reminds me of the movies we used to make. When you just give your brother-in-law a script and say, here, read this, you're bound to get some bad performances. And I felt like there was a lot of that. I could have personally done without the sons. Like, I thought like he could have just been a single father to the daughter and been just fine. Some of the other parts, I don't know. The acting was a little weak for me throughout the movie. So those were like my big two. Yours obviously was the flashbacks to the first one.
The flashbacks, the editing with the flashbacks didn't work. So the plot, I agree with what you're saying. I don't know that I agree to the extent to which you don't like it. It didn't really bother me. I don't really think it matters for a film like this, in my opinion anyway. I loved everything about Shooter McGavin in this movie. Like, he was my favorite part of this.
Yes,
and
I would agree with that.
Like, they team up together. When you talk about the acting, I don't know that you can expect a lot of good acting from cameos, and that's the point of the cameo. I'm not really looking for a great performance when it comes to a cameo.
That made up so much of the movie.
It did. It made up a lot of the movie. So again, like, I don't really disagree with you. It didn't bother me. But like, I can't say that you're wrong, because I get it. Yeah.
How does the heart in this movie compare to the heart in the first one?
I think that it runs deeper in the first one. A grandson fighting for his grandma. It's not even like the love interest in the first one. That's kind of a side plot. I mean, he gets the girl, but he's doing it for his grandmother.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
not even to like save her life or anything, to save the house, right? Like, it's not like her grandma's dying or anything. Like, it's to save the house. So that kind of goes back to my.
This kind of goes back to my thin plot here. He was trying to raise $300,000. He could have easily done it. There was no necessarily timeline. You had like a week, and the house was going to be foreclosed on. It was, you need to raise $300,000 so she can go. First tournament, he wins. He basically comes in sixth, still wins the money. Now he gets fined because he got drunk during doing it. But just the stakes didn't feel quite as high. And then with the Maxi, it was like, the golf is going to end, but. I don't know. So in comparison, comparing Happy Gilmore 1 to Gilmore 2, to me, there's no doubt Happy Gilmore 1 is a much better movie. Happy Gilmore 2...
far better, yeah. Far better.
Happy Gilmore 2 gives some fan service, but...
It gives some fan service, and it's a decent comedy. I do feel like perhaps they should have picked one. Do you want the Maxi Golf as your plot, or is it the daughter going to college? Because you could make the movie work on one of those. You don't need to change it halfway through. You can just pick one or the other and make a full movie out of that. And so that it was weird. Yeah.
with that, I think it's time to kind of get into, I think, our final rankings.
Yes, please.
I want to do, before your final rankings, final thoughts, and then final rankings.
Well,
you go first.
My final thought, and then I want to hear your final thought, and then let's give the ranking. My final thought is that this is a decent movie. It's never going to live up to the original. I think a lot of these people who are putting it down heavily, if you go to a party expecting to have a bad time, you're going to have a bad time. You've got to set expectations aside. There are big things in this movie that don't work. You've pointed out some of them. I've pointed out some of them. I think we mostly agree with each other. Maybe not to the extent but that the other feels, but like we're on the same page more or less. Like I feel you with all of your critiques. I think probably I will rank this slightly higher, but it's not going to be a 9 or a 10 by any means. So those are my final thought. It's a worthy sequel. I'll remember it for a little bit. Maybe in a couple of years I'll watch it again. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm with you. A forgettable sequel that feeds me the nostalgia that I wanted, gives me the happy feel, gives me a little bit of a new story, a new look at it. Kind of lets down on the totality of it, and it just doesn't kind of land as well as you would like. It will never live up to what it was. No. It is just an okay movie at the end of the day. I will not say it's garbage because I think there's some good stuff in it. It's still a movie. It's still fun. I'll probably, this is not something I'm probably going to talk about in 5 years from now. Like, it's not going to be that cult classic that the first one was.
So
maybe that's okay.
1 to 5, where does it rank?
Oh, 1 to 5. I was going 1 to 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 to 10. That's what I meant. 1 to 10.
Okay, 1 to 10. I'm going to give this a 6.
Oh,
but
really?
It's barely a 6. It's probably like a 5.5. But I'm rounding up. I'm going to give it a 6.
That's what I would. That's what I would give it. I would give it a 6 also.
If you were going to rank it A through like we did, S through D in the past, like, it's probably a low B, high C movie. Like, it's probably right there in that cusp of a good movie.
I was expecting you would go 4 or 5. I was always it was a 6. It's just above average for me.
Yeah, I'm barely a 6, so I would say a 5. Just to be like, it's probably a 5 for me. Mm-hmm. Giving it a little bump 6 because it's probably like a 5.1, 5.2, 5.5. Yeah, so it's just right there.
In terms of comedy, the original Happy Gilmore is like a 7-8. Like, it's an 8.
Oh yeah. For me that's like a 9 or a 10. That's one of my favorite movies. Okay. It's an S tier movie. It's like one of those special movies that has the good comedy that makes you really laugh. I mean, I when I watched it yesterday, I was still laughing. So, right. I mean, like, there's still really great moments. It's just like, you're like, you just can't help but, like, you just hear the lines throughout the day, It's like, Mister, jackass.
I just, even scenes in the original that are so cruel. With Ben Stiller, like, I still say to this day, you could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up.
Shut the hell up. And I didn't even get into the Ben Stiller. I actually thought, I don't think they did his character justice in this one. I think it was okay. Just could have been better. I don't know. There was a lot of things that could have been better, but all in all, I got to see some golf. I got to see some Happy. I think it was decent.
Well, probably not something I'm going to watch too much. We're more in line than I thought because I was always thinking it's a 6. Like, it's above average. I liked it. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, and that's enough.
See, but that just shows how I am easily entertained, guys. Like, I am definitely Angry Joe. You are right. I don't have the intellectual whatever you said to not like a movie like this. And guess what? Angry Joe, I don't need to be your friend. So how about that? He went off as far as like, if you like this, then you just don't, or just a terrible human. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever.
I would say to Angry Joe what we said. I don't know if this will air before our Star Wars thing, probably, because we're going to air this pretty soon.
No, this is going to air tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay, well, to Angry Joe, I would say our opinions on whether this is a good movie or not don't matter. But then again, neither does yours. It doesn't really matter. You're just a guy on the internet. You're more popular than us, but it doesn't really matter. We're just guys reviewing movies that we had no process in the making of. So who cares?
Having made a movie, this is a good one. A lot of characters, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things they did right.
It's true. It's true.
Good production value. I mean, when you really look at it, like even the Maxi stuff, which I don't like the storyline, still had some pretty good, sets and locations and some pretty neat stuff going on. Ridiculous concepts, but whatever.
It was Woody Allen who once said, there is no best in film when they give out that Best Picture Oscar. There is only favorites. You can say that was my favorite movie this year. You can't really say that was the best film of the year because, the judges at the Oscars, it's just people like us handing out those awards. Like, there's only favorites. Exactly. And so this guy doesn't like it. A lot of people don't like it. I like it. We kind of like it. And that's whatever.
I thought it was decent. I laughed. I thought it was good. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't, that 7 or 8 that I think I was hoping for. But you guys, with that, if you're new here and you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know we went a little bit long on this review, but, there was a lot to talk about. It's a great movie, or it's a good movie. It's a movie.
Good movie.
See how quickly that downgraded? It was good. It's a movie. Don't let the people on the internet stop you from watching this. If you liked it, let us know in the comments below. If you hated it, let us know in the comments below. Everybody's, we talked about this in a future project that you'll see that we already recorded. That's kind of how funny it is everybody has their own opinions. And that's what makes watching movies great is I can watch a movie and think it's fantastic. And then you could watch a movie and think it's terrible. And guess what? We're both right. And that's what is so awesome about movies. It's how it connects to you,
Cheers to that.
Unless you're watching Shuttersome. Yeah, exactly. Unless you're watching Shuttersome, then it's just terrible and everybody knows it.
If we ever show Shuttersome and somebody likes it, I want to have a conversation with that guy.
Exactly. So guys, with that, cheers until next time. And comment, all that fun stuff.